Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Authors Up. Favorite place to be at 7 p.m. on a Sunday evening.
Yes.
So glad that we are here. So happy to have another opportunity to invite you all in and invite you to join the fun and join the information, join the exchange that we have going on here in the evening on Sunday evening. First off the bat, first thing I want to do is welcome in my co-host for the evening. There's Ruth Griffin is up there. Hey, Ruth.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm
And
good.
to say good evening to Victoria. Queen Victoria, how are
Good
you?
evening. The queen is sleepy, but okay.
Okay, all right. We're glad to know that you're okay. That's the important part.
Mhm.
So if y'all catch me snoozing, tell me, wake up, boo.
Hit the top of the screen.
Okay. Get
Yeah,
up.
the screen.
But I am okay. How you guys tonight?
I'm good.
We're good. Yeah, we're good.
So that's
Good.
good. And we're going to get started like we usually do. And that is by telling our folks about our weekend review. Just a few things that were going on in the world of Authors Up last week, in our own personal journeys last week. So let's start with you, Queen. What's
Oh,
going on in your world?
I got me a smartwatch.
Ah,
I got me a smartwatch to help on my weight loss journey.
Yay.
And I have been wearing it and I have gotten in over 3,200 steps today. I'm so
Good for
proud of
you.
myself. I
Good
have
for
it
you.
set at 4,000 steps. So I'm really happy about that today. And I'm trying to figure it out. I got to read the directions. I've been trying to figure it out myself, but I need to sit down and read the directions and cut all this out. Because I just don't understand all that it does. I do know it's connected to my phone.
Mhm.
So I could to answer the calls on there. I could do a lot of things, but most of all, I'm monitoring my steps, my heart rate, and I'm just excited about finding things that are helping me along my journey. And I'm doing pretty good. I talked to my nutritionist this past week. I'm on track. I am happy to say that I have lost a few pounds, and
Good.
awesome.
I'm gonna take them one at a time. I'm gonna take them, but I am feeling good. I am feeling good about myself. I'm feeling good about the process. Feeling good about where I'm at. And I went to church services today, and both of them gave me messages of hope and encouragement that I'm on the right track, and it is okay to begin again, because that's what Christ died for. So I'm in a good place mentally. So
Awesome.
that was my week.
Awesome. That's a good week.
Yes.
Good week.
Yes. Thank you, Serena. Good evening.
I can move this around. I had a good week. I'm still
Good.
here, and that's always a good week. I'm glad about that. I too have a watch. My I have discovered that my watch will give me the reminder to get up and move,
Yeah.
which is just amazing to me. It is amazing to me how long I stay in the same position
Oh, okay.
during the day because I get up in the morning and at 8:30 I am, after my 8 at 8 show, I'm at the computer and sometimes I don't move again till 1, 2 o'clock.
Oh.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm
Okay.
just either steady writing or steady working on something. But this little thing was binging and said, "Oh, almost there." I thought, "Almost where?
Ah,
Where am I going?" But I enjoyed that feature on it, and I will look for it. I didn't know I could do steps on it too, so I got to look for the
okay.
steps
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I got it for,
of
to,
that.
to do my steps. So,
Mhm.
Yeah,
whew.
I know. I got mine for AFib,
Oh, okay.
and I don't care what else I shut off. If I go into AFib, this thing will go off. I don't care.
Wow.
shut it down, tried to power it off, or whatever, it will definitely let me know.
Yeah, that'll scare you.
Yeah, they did it first, because the first thing I wanted to do was shut it down.
Right.
Not allowing me to do that, and then I called my doctor because I said, watch is going off. What am I to do?
Mm-hmm.
He said, you're on medication, right? And I said, yeah, you prescribed it. Yeah, I'm on medication. He said, oh, well, that's all you need to do. And I thought,
All you need to do what?
Is keep taking the meds. That's what he meant.
Or take some more now? Or
that's all I need to do.
When it beeps,
prescription,
do I call 911?
I take them twice a day, and
Okay.
to feel that was all that was necessary. So I thought to myself, why then do I need to know this if there's nothing for me to do about it?
I mean, do you share it with him, or what's the expectation?
Interested or concerned on my behalf, or from where I sit, I am looking for a new cardiologist.
Okay, then. All right, then. All right. Thank you.
Because I noticed the pattern changing. For when I first got it, it didn't go off for months, and now it's going off several times a week. So I'm find a new cardiologist, because something has changed more than you're in AFib now. So
well, all right, he did.
See about that. Not on the weekend review, but you reminded me when you showed me your pretty watch. So I'm glad about that. Last week was fun. My squeeze toys were in town. My were here. I can't call them my squeeze toys anymore because they're 10 now.
Oh my gosh, they're preteens
now. Yes. And just kind of paying attention to the way that they have changed, the things that they're into now that they weren't into before. And they do a Bible study every week, just about every week. It's 3 little cousins, and Linda works with them on that. And one of them is very, very interested in YouTube, and I can't wait for her to grow up just a little bit more so she can be my teacher. But she wanted to come on 8 at 8.
Right.
They came on. She said, "Can I sit with you?" And I said, "Yeah." So she got her little chair and table, and she did just what I was doing. I'd say,
wow.
"Good evening, Victoria," and she'd go, "Good evening, Victoria."
Yeah, she did. She's so cute.
She was really excited because the audience was gracious enough to speak back to her. And to say good evening, Madison, and she smiled, So Wednesday came along and she says, "Are we doing the show again tonight?"
You have a co-host now.
Yes, so the days that she was here, she came on with me, and I remember when they were here before and they were a lot younger, and I was coming on in the morning. One of them came down and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Graham, do you have scribes?" And she was talking about subscribers.
Oh, okay.
And I said, "Yes, Graham has a few scribes." So when she came back this time and really wanted to get on the air and say something, I was happy to let her do it.
And she sees how many scribes you have.
You never know. Well, they opened up their own YouTube channel.
Oh, good.
It's just like Hannah was saying yesterday. I mean, this is a whole new generation.
It is.
It is. And it's important, I think, not to shut them down or shut them out.
Exactly.
Just see how long they will go. She usually prays in their little groups. So we got to the evening. I said, "Do you want to pray tonight?" And she said, "I think I'll wait." I said, "Okay." we won't rush the prayer group.
Nice.
But it was delightful. It was just good to see them and to listen to how they're changing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
they're changing. So
They growing.
that was the fun. That was the fun for me for the week. And last weekend, I had a chance to sit with my very dear friend, who's the second person I met when I moved here to North Carolina in 1990.
Wow.
And so it was good to sit with her and chat and laugh,
That's nice.
have a good time. So it was a good week. I look forward to this week. I have some assignments this week, so I hope I will have a good report next week.
Y'all. I'm sorry.
You're not boring at all, Andrea. At all.
Thanks so much, Ruth. I'm glad
I told y'all I was sleepy at the top of this. Right?
I'm glad I captured your attention.
Yes.
Because apparently other folks are dozing off. Hello, Serena. How are you? And Linda, how are you? Leah, good evening to you as well.
Ooh, I told y'all I was sleepy. I'm
We'll
sorry.
stay up, through the program. We're having trouble with the queen down here, but that is the way it is sometimes.
Jesus.
Ruth, what about your week? What's going on with baby?
Oh, Jesus, help me, Lord.
You're good.
Good evening to you. We're
What's
trying to get the
What's going on, Ruth, in your world? Thank God we don't have a guest tonight.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna do it on my daughter tonight, my other daughter, who did not have a child, but nonetheless is doing amazing things.
Yes.
She led a teaching or webinar, or I don't know what we would call it, yesterday for ALH on social media. And I'll be honest, she's been teaching me stuff. So, and I like to think of myself as techie. I mean, certainly among my like siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it this way: 2 of the 4 in my age group were still using flip phones up until recently. So, I like to think that I was very techie, but Hannah has taught me a lot of stuff, and I just want to give props to her because she did really well yesterday. And she knows her stuff. So, apart from that, I have been working on getting my businesses up and working for me, so that I no longer have to rely on corporate America. So,
say it.
Yep. So. Yeah, they've been. Obviously, I've been a writer now for 20 plus years, and I've been publishing for 10. And they're self-sustaining now. The businesses are, but I need them to be now sustaining me. So,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So that is my goal for the foreseeable future, and I'll be reporting on it because one thing Hannah did tell me was promote. So.
okay.
Yep.
She's really a talented young lady, not just
Really, she is
in the world of technology, but just in her own business. She is an amazing braider.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen anybody put patterns in somebody's hair like she can. She is really a talented young lady. So it was a pleasure to have her, and she is an excellent teacher. She's a patient teacher, and she didn't get frustrated at all, which is easy for folks. It is. And
No. And you know what? I had to think about that because when I asked her to do it, I did tell her, I'm like, well, you have to understand these are older folks. And she's like, Mom, I got it. I'm like, okay. She had it. There's nothing I needed to add to it. She had it. So
she really does. And that's one thing about when you're working with people, and you know, we know that everybody learns differently and all of that, but it's that generation tends to get so frustrated so quickly. They will either do it for you because they're tired of you trying to figure it out, which doesn't help the learning process, you know, at all, because you don't know what they did because it happened so quickly,
Right.
or they are so frustrated that you don't want to let them know what you don't know. So you end up sitting and going, "Oh yeah, I got that," and what you're really saying is, "You need to go home now," because neither one of us are getting anything out of this at all.
Yo,
I know it's getting on your last nerve because you are getting on my last nerves. But she was really, she's just good. She's
yes,
good at
yes.
what she does, and it is a pleasure. I count it an honor and a privilege to watch uh, young people grow up and grow
Oh
into
my gosh.
Yes.
their
Oh
own.
my gosh. Yes. Just
Victoria, your daughters are doing their theater thing,
mhm.
and your girls. I mean, I can't even believe that Samantha is now a
Wow.
married woman with a child in serving
Right.
her country. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just amazing to me.
Mhm.
So kudos to her. Thank her
Mhm.
again from
I
us
will. I
for
will.
doing such a good job. She did great. She did great.
Yeah.
Now tonight, our guest for tonight is Queen Victoria, woman of
Tonight.
Oh God.
Tonight. Okay, I'm sorry.
and her other personality is on singing
Veronica.
from we know not where. We know not where.
Well, Lee said we need our own TV show.
Yeah.
We need our own something, Leah.
Oh,
Not
Jesus.
sure what it is. I'm not sure what it is.
Wow.
But we took this weekend. It's interesting. We took this weekend, which is in on many platforms, showing the greatest story ever told.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at part of that yesterday. And we had made a decision that we were going to talk about the anatomy of the art of storytelling this evening. We always say that everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. It just depends on whether or not they want to tell it. And I know I believe Serena has submitted a story to us. Leah is a writer of many books. And Naikayeta has written, she has shared some of her work on When Life Speaks before.
Yes.
So there are a lot of stories in us,
Mm-hmm.
and regardless of what you might think, the book has a story, the TV show has a story, the movie, of course, has a story, our personal journey has a story. So there's a lot to storytelling that we don't necessarily think about. I know when I hear the word storytelling, I usually think of the little old lady in the chair, you know, and the kids sitting around her. And, you know, sometimes it's a program that the library has started, you know, storytelling at noon, you know, and the kids get
Right.
excited and they talk about story. But what do you guys think when you first hear the word storytelling? And anybody in who is listening tonight, and if you want to put it in the comment section and go along with us, that is absolutely fine. But you know, what do you think about? What comes to mind? That's what comes to mind for me when I first heard the word. But what about you and Ruth?
Well, for me, be honest with you, my first remembrance of storytelling is my mother. My mother would read her, when she joined the church that we grew up in. the coal porters at that time would come, door to door selling you books and encyclopedias and things like that. And my mother bought a set of these books called Uncle Arthur's Bedtime Stories. And when I think storytelling, immediate thought is us gathered around my mom in the evening, and she would tell us a story before we went to bed. And my mom she was dramatic, and I guess that's where the talent has shifted down. Because she'd be like, she told me, I'll be like, whoa, what happened next, mommy? She was so good at telling the story and making it seem like it was, like you were right there with the story, and she would do the little voices and guess what happened next? What? So when I think of storytelling, I think of somebody reading a story to you, or somebody telling you about something, but they're animated about it and they're, all into it to make you feel like you're there. And I tend to like books like that and movies to make you feel like you're right there. What about you, Ruth?
I think for me, when you say the word storytelling, I think of, because I read a lot of fiction, so I think of bards. They used to go around just sharing stories, singing stories, because books weren't affordable to the general mass. So you had to have someone who knew the story and who take the story from town to town and share it with others. So that to me, just the you have a story to tell. So even for me, I've gone from being a writer to being an author, which in my brain, an author is someone who's published, but now I'm going back to storyteller, because I feel like one of those bards. I have a story that I want to share, and I want to go from place to place to place and share it with others, if you know what I mean. Let the book go for me. But that's what I think about when I hear the word storyteller.
And I'm going to try to pull Nakayeda's comment up. She said, I think of storytelling as a great way of letting others in a certain place and time.
That's good.
Time. And you know what that follows along with when we were looking at storytelling, there were some essentials to it. And no matter where you looked, it carried the same thing. And Nikayeda, one of those essentials had to do with having a cast of characters and being in a certain place.
Right.
The list that we had here said people. Next thing it had was places. The next thing that it had was pictures. And I always talk about Ruth's fictional books because I tell her all the time, I can see it. I can see it. I can see that road. I can see them.
Yes.
There.
I can see the people. I imagine the people.
Yeah, I can see all of that. I can see the expressions and all of those things. And let me just read off some of the things that they had here that are essential if you want to have a good story, if you want to have a good story. And it had to do with people, and those are your characters, places, pictures. What do you want your listener or reader to see as they are reading?
Okay. So that doesn't mean actual pictures, because I know some good stories don't have pictures.
No, it is what you're able to create with
in your mind from reading the story. Okay, just want to make that clear. Okay.
Purpose and meaning. Making it personal, which I think goes back to what Nikayeda was alluding to. Having a structure, the structure of the story, that beginning, that middle, that end, that crisis, that conflict, all of those things. What is gathering, what is capturing the individual's attention to the story? And I know that Ruth has worked with us on that sentence, that first sentence. And we have also worked in creating the 6-word story. I guess that's a way that we could put it. to have 6 words and have those 6 words tell a story. And that certainly captures somebody's attention. And the impact. What is the driving force? What is it that is within this story that's going to make people want to read it? Where is it hitting? Where is it touching? Where is it leading them in their thought process with the story that you were telling? And we had, and there were also what I call the final 4, with all those other things that you've got going on: emotion, empathy, energy, and engagement. Emotion, empathy, energy, and engagement. And for anybody who is a writer out there, just kind of think back at the story that you have written. It may have been a short story, could have been a novel, but can you think of or feel the emotion that was building up, or that was a part of the story that you were telling? Is it sadness? Is it apprehension in some places? What is the emotional feeling that that you are translating to the reader? What are they picking up, when they're reading your story? It is that I think a lot of that has to do, and I think of impact and all of that, it has to do with those stories that are just page turners. In the book, when you get to the end and it doesn't end, and you think, I need just a couple of more pages. If I had just 2 more pages to see.
Right. Wait a minute.
I think that'd be okay.
I don't like books that live, especially stories or books or movies that leave me hanging. I don't like that.
We went to see, I think it was Chosen, and we got to the end of the Last Supper, and we were sitting there going, wait, what happened to the crucifixion? Where did that go? And we kept sitting there thinking, okay, after this set of credits, they're going to tell us something else, and they didn't. What they told us was episode 2 will be coming out soon. The second part of
I
this.
didn't realize Chosen was in the movie theaters first.
Not realizing that it was in 3 parts, that the last part of The Chosen is in 3 parts. So we really, and I can't even say, I'd like to say, had I known that, I wouldn't have gone, but I still would have gone. I still would have gone. I still would have watched it. Before we get to the considerations, we decided that we would call upon the Queen.
Wait a minute now.
Who is in the midst of finishing a story that she is writing. And the first thing that happened with Queen Victoria was a change in title. Because when you're talking about, grabbing somebody's attention and wanting to pull them in from the very beginning, the title is often a great part of that. And I also think, which we didn't mention it here, but I think the cover.
Absolutely.
That's right. We didn't talk about the cover. I can't wait to get a cover, but can't finish writing the book.
But tell us where you were in the beginning with your title, Victoria, and what you changed it to.
Well, my story is a Christian romance, and it was at first going to be Love Will Always Find a Way. And our dear Ruth was talking about titles, and you don't want your title to be, you want your book to be able to be found by people when they look it up. And so she one of the litmus tests, is that the right word? Litmus test is I went to Amazon and put in Love Will Find a Way. Love Will Always Find a Way. And there were like 105 different variations of that title. So that tells me that my book would get squashed in between all those other titles when somebody's trying to find Love Will Always Find a Way, or Love Will, whatever, by Victoria E. Henderson. So then, I prayed about it a little bit, and something, came to me, see me with your heart, because my
Like,
story is about a young lady who is, overweight, and she has some self-esteem issues, and she finds love and ends up being the first lady of the church that her and husband are going to. And so the story starts out by letting you know that they are the pastor and first lady, and then she kind of goes back in her memories and thinks about how they got there. And so that's the story of how they got there. So you know where they are, you know where we end up. And so it's building that story in between. And so see me with your heart definitely feels better, especially when she has to overcome all these self-esteem issues, and needing people just to see her as she is, see that heart that she has versus her outside exterior. So then when I put that in, it's not that many things. It's not exactly that title. There was something that said see me, but it was nothing with see me with your heart. So I feel pretty strongly that title is going to be the final one. And Leah says, yep, title should be SEO friendly. What does that mean? What does that mean, Leah? You're gonna have to put in what SEO friendly means.
It's search engine optimization.
Okay, thank you. Come on now. You gotta tell the
Search,
people what you're talking about.
search engine optimization. That you have to find
Search
the
engine
friendliest way.
optimization friendly. Exactly. So why don't you just
Friendliest
say
way.
Googlicious?
No,
It's just
no.
that's two different things. That's two different things.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, it's a search engine. I know. I'm just saying. She's laughing. Ruth got it. Okay, okay.
woo,
But
woo, woo, woo.
so I changed the
She's
title,
awakened.
and I'm kind of, I don't know. I seem to be just a little stuck with the story. And Ruth has suggested I do an outline, and I have done an outline which I sent you guys, and I kind of mapped it out, but I've gotten stuck with the writing, and I think I'm more stuck. Not so much that I don't know what I may want to say per se, it's just having set the time aside to write. Other things have been, going on in life, and I just haven't set the time aside to do it. That this not only this book, but my other book about my fibromyalgia story and my arthritis story.
Mhm.
So, and those are both things I want to get out. But I have to juggle the schedule and make it happen because nobody else can do it.
Mhm.
'Cause these are my stories. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
I recognize that. So that's kind of where I'm at, y'all.
Well, it sounds to me like you have the elements that they are suggesting uh,
Okay.
that would make your story a good story, better than a good story. But really, even when you were talking about your outline, that's part of your structure.
Right.
Mhm.
What's going on? I look here, and it says, I'm going to just kind of read this. Ruth, anything that you want to
I'll
jump
jump in.
in
I'll jump
and
in.
say, please do, um, is your story, and you all who are listening can kind of run this through the track of your mind as well, because I think you will have heard these things in her explanation of what her story is going to be about. It says, is your story about something that would be of interest to those who are recipients of it?
Okay.
And I love wins every time. I mean, I think anything that touches on love in some way, shape, or form is going to be of interest to most of the people, because
Mhm.
to me, I always find it, like you said, love finds a way. But in most stories, I think there is a love component
Mhm. Mhm.
somewhere in there, whether it's a war story or a wealth story or whatever, that love is there.
Yeah.
Nakayeta is saying yes to it, and I
The
know that.
self-esteem portion, I'm sure.
Yeah, mhm. Um,
Yeah.
did you express energy throughout? And
Let me
Ruth,
jump back in
comment
for a
and
moment.
sure.
So for that first part, is your story something that would be of interest to those who are recipients? Number one, yes. I think that there's an audience for every story, to be honest,
Okay.
even
Okay.
the more questionable ones. So, but one thing you want to take care of, one thing you want to be mindful of is not writing to market. And I
Mm,
believe that this is why we are seeing um, a lot of even traditionally published authors are moving to self-published platforms because they want to control their story.
right.
It is no longer about, oh, I got to write to market, I got to write to what my audience is expecting.
Mm-hmm.
It is about telling the story that's in your heart. And I think that that takes precedence over everything else. If
Right.
I think we've spoken about it before. If not, we'll talk about it at some point. Every story, every genre has a rule when it comes to writing it. When you write about science fiction or romance or something like that, there's always got to be conflict. There's always got to be certain things in each genre. So I think that once you identify what the story is that you want to tell, and reading from what you have, Victoria, you have a story that I believe a lot of people would, be impacted by. You just got to write what's true to your heart, as
Okay.
opposed to, oh, this is what people want to read because
Right.
this is what's trending. You know,
Okay. Okay.
that is not necessarily a direction, and it won't be true to you. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the thing is, when you start going outside the boundaries of what you want to do, you're going to find that writing will be even harder.
Okay.
So you want to stay within what's in your heart, the story that you want to tell, and just flow from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
I was thinking about that too, Ruth, because whenever you are, when it is something from your heart and something that you are engaged in saying, the writing and the number of the word count and all of that is, it just flows.
Hmm.
And when it flows, it is easier for you to set the time to write because you want to get back to it.
Oh yeah.
It's just like
Mm-hmm.
that you want to read,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I want to hear that next chapter. I want to see what happens next. And you get in that same flow, I think, as a writer,
Yeah.
and to say, yeah, I gotta finish this part.
Right.
Beth has got to finish this conversation with Joe in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Leah is telling us too, relationships, health
Health
and
and
wellness,
wellness.
and business are the top selling books right now.
Definitely. And
So,
I can see that. I can see that based on the books that we've gotten to review lately.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not just that, but life.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And the
You know,
other part you have to remember too is that, to whatever degree, books are they could be a distraction from their life for the reader, but that's not necessarily a bad thing either, because if you can fit in, those lessons that love always wins, always finds a way to win,
Yes.
you'll have given them something, you'll have given them hope.
Right.
And I've been reading a lot of Asian writers, and they have they categorize it differently so that they're a little more targeted towards certain age groups and things like that. And what I'm finding, even as they're telling a story, and it can be fantastical and it can have magic and it can have this and that, they're also sharing life lessons, and they
Mm-hmm.
sneak them in. But that distraction also just taught me, how do I handle a situation where someone wronged me, or
Yeah.
how do I begin to love when I've never been loved? So
Wow.
that I think stories, if we're going back to the art of storytelling, stories do evoke emotions and they teach us. And that's, those original bards, those original folks who, even like you could take it back to the Bible, you had people who were traveling who would tell the same story from town to town to town, and they would learn the different nuance, the difference, how to evoke those emotions, because that's when your emotion is tied to a story, it becomes ingrained in you. So
love it.
Oh, okay. I'm getting engrossed in what Ruth is saying. I'm like, oh wait, I gotta say something. Okay. The next part of it was, is there a clear and clear moral or clear theme? And I think you address that, that there has to be that, and that is what becomes engaging, and that is what people want to hear. It's always funny. I'm thinking right now about movies and things that you've seen, and around the campfire somebody is telling that story and everybody is just pressed in. I mean, just
exactly.
almost in the campfire, because they are listening so intently to what is being said. So that is really true. Develop a cast of characters. Now, this is kind of interesting to me, because sometimes I have written things and I know exactly who my characters are going to be.
Okay.
But the story that I did, or that I am trying to finish, that I started with Lionel Wrightmore, there are some characters that just evolved.
As you were writing, they just
I didn't have them in the beginning, but there was one scene with an investigator, and as I was writing the way that he was investigating, he began to talk to his partner, and then there were just these two separate, not necessarily separate storylines, but two additions to the story that became important.
Sort of like a mini story within the story, right?
Yeah,
that happens.
It wasn't planned that way. It wasn't outlined that way. But I think that it brought something to the story itself in terms of this crime that they are investigating. So I say that to say, don't be afraid, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ruth, but don't be afraid to veer from an original idea, because I think in telling the story, you will find some things that are, not necessarily the way you planned them, but the way that you find the story unfolding.
And
it cover these characters.
Yeah, and it's not so much veering from the storyline; it's expanding it. It's expanding this world, and I think that is something some authors may be afraid of: is build your world. There is more than just character A and character B in it, and more than just one storyline. It can have a secondary storyline, and it can have a third one. How does it impact the first one? How does a secondary character? The bad guy is not just the bad guy.
If you're in a world, there are people in the world. We're not in the same world by ourselves. If we wrote a story tonight about the three of us, who would we have to include?
Yeah, exactly. So you're just building a world, and that's expanding your story and helping your readers get immersed in it.
That's a good way of putting it. Leah said the best stories evoke emotions and challenge your way of thinking.
I like that. Thank you. I'm gonna have to write that down. I like that. Challenge your way of thinking.
And I think that just her sentence puts me in mind of those 4 E's, which are emotion, empathy, the energy, and engagement that they say are a part of every good story. So that's good. That's good. Um, Conflict.
Mhm.
Create an intense conflict. Ruth, have you ever had, and Leah, you may be able to answer this as well. Um, Leah said, I haven't written many books, only 10.
Right.
Where are you, Leah? Because we're going to pick you up and lock you up.
Yeah.
How about that? Not that many. Okay. All right.
Creating an intense conflict.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Has that ever been challenging, or did you in the very beginning, did you know what the conflict was going to be? Or did that evolve just like your characters? Some of your characters may have evolved.
Oh, it evolved. You start off with, I think every good book begins with a conflict.
Right.
You know,
Right.
whether it is, you know, if you read romances or, you know, the female lead, you know, the hate to love relationship, or,
Yeah.
you know, the love triangle, or whatever it is, those are conflicts. You know, with adventure stories, I'm
Yeah.
currently reading a series called Expeditionary Force. The conflict is about aliens, and the thing is, they present it, but now they have to find a way to fix it. So in
Right.
each
Right.
book, there has to be some satisfactory, okay, conflict, and that allows the characters to either grow or to, you know, develop in some way, and then there's an end to it, so that each story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So
Right.
you definitely, I believe, um, conflict has to, you know, as you begin writing it, you know, you see it a certain way in your head, but as you begin writing it, it develops into a character itself. So, you know, it shouldn't be stagnant, and there should not be um, a conflict. I've read this book, absolutely love it, but there actually is no conflict in the book. It's called the
Okay.
Henchman's Book Club, and
Mm-hmm.
it is just about, you know, every time you watch, I don't know if you watch like these movies with these megla villains, and, you know, like James Bond, and the henchmen are just shooting at the good guy, and they
Yes.
shoot everything except the good guy, and it's just like, where did they find these henchmen? Well, that's the premise of the story, is that, you know, to kill time, this one guy begins a book club, and he takes it with him wherever he goes, but the story itself is just him going from place to place to place.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
it's just like, I love the book, but you're like, where's the conflict?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it is, you know, nothing is really solved in the end, and that's what you're giving the reader. It is something, a conflict that the character grows through to solve in the end. So
Mhm.
it definitely should be included, and it should develop as you write it.
Leah says, I write nonfiction books mainly. So it's usually a personal conflict, but it always evolves for me.
Mm-hmm.
Always evolves
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Well,
Guys, do you know what time it is? Oh
I
my
was getting,
goodness.
I was just getting ready to say we have passed our time, and
Well, we could keep on talking another 30 minutes.
no, no, we couldn't. No, we couldn't.
Yes, we could. Yes, we could.
Victoria, Queen Victoria can talk another 30 minutes. But seriously, I hope this has been interesting for those of you who are on, and those of you who may have writers, or know have writers who are friends, or know writers who may be working on manuscripts at this time. I hope that you will share this program with them. Not very, very simple instructions, things that you need. And I just always think that it starts with the passion and the heart, and all those good things that we deal with all the time on a personal level, and don't even sometimes know that we are dealing with them.
Right.
But they're all part of the story. They're all part of the story that we want to tell. And I intend to use some of these things as I wrap up the things that I am writing now. Nikayeta said she found some nuggets.
Great,
We're
great.
glad about that. Glad about that. Ruth and or Victoria, do either of you have a closing remark that you would like to share?
I just want to say, you know what? When you get stuck, keep writing.
There you go.
Just
And I
keep
thank
writing.
you guys for this discussion tonight has helped me think about some things. And I mostly love that quote that Leah says about the best stories evoke emotions and challenge your way of thinking. And that's what I want to do with the book. That's really what I want to do. I want to be able to, when somebody puts it down, think about what they say and how they deal with people, because you never know the struggle that people are going through. So
Right.
I got to keep that in mind
Absolutely.
and get back to writing.
Well, anyone who wants to get in touch with us can get in touch with us at
AuthorsUp@gmail.com.
That's where we are, folks. That's where
Keep
we are.
going. Keep going.
And by the middle of the week, you're also going to be able to find us on the podcast at Authors Up Show. Is that right?
Yes.
And other than that, just come on back next week at 7 p.m. and you can find us right here on Authors Up. Thank you, everybody who joined us tonight. Thank you for your comments and your participation.
Yes.
We never know exactly what is going to happen when we tune in Authors Up. We don't know what Queen Victoria is going to be up to. We got to figure out how fast the baby's growing, because I know she'll be in college soon.
All right. We'll be talking about her being 10.
A lot of things we need to discuss coming up. So please hang in there with us. Come on back next week. We'll be right here. Put us on your calendar so that you won't miss an episode of Authors Up. Thank you so much for being with us. That's it for us for tonight, and we will hopefully see you next week. Have an absolutely amazing week, and we'll see you again soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.